start talking about radical hospitality. So is that a UU thing that's going on, or is that?
It is a
Okay.
big
Because
conversation.
he's like me, it's like, he goes to the coffee hour, but, he only tried, he didn't really make an effort to mingle with somebody he didn't know.
Sure.
And he started doing that, and I thought, great, good for him.
It's the big topic.
Yeah, well, it's fun.
It's all about inconvenience. A matter of inconvenience.
I kind of still celebrate Advent blues. So.
I take so many things right now.
This must be Brian.
That's Brian.
But
Hi.
would be
To meet you. You're okay.
that's in heat, right?
Oh, good.
Yeah, so.
She was shaking, so I just stopped.
Right? Right. Yeah.
You had a chance to minister already this morning.
Yeah, this morning. So it's glad to meet you. I'm so glad you're here. I'll start things off and then I'll get out of your way.
Okay. Right. Yeah. Well, you get out of my way. Get out of my way.
Who knows, is she taking the here? No, she
How we doing? Oh, it's almost.
You know, what really ticks me off? Years, my mustache is growing. It's just great. I asked my sister, I said, "Do you have
Good morning.
Good morning.
Well, I have the distinct pleasure to turn the service over later to Claudia Schmidt, who is our special guest today. Many of you have already been made known about that. So I just have a few more announcements before we get started, and will be doing obviously the lighting of the chalice and our joys and concerns first. So we're not going to skip that or anything. But does anybody else have any announcements to make before I launch into a few of mine? Go ahead.
2 o'clock this afternoon at the Ames Center. Kathleen, our accompanist, and myself will be in a concert with DVS, Dakota Valley Symphony Orchestra, Home for the Holidays, all kinds of wonderful holiday music, and some music that isn't performed very much, so that's kind of fun. So 2 o'clock at the Ames Center, there are still seats.
Thank you. That sounds like fun. Anyone else? Well, a couple of strategic announcements that we make, just so you know that there is a plate by the door. We do not take up an offering or do an offertory during the service. We do also take donations online, and if you happen to have any loose change that you place in the plate, that goes to charities that we sponsor as a congregation. I also want to just keep announcing that, wow, it's December, right? Well, we don't need to announce that, but we have some special services coming up this month later. On December the 22nd, which is a Friday at 7 p.m., we'll be having a solstice service in this room, and then, of course, Christmas Eve morning, we're going to be doing a Christmas carol sing-along and all kinds of other fun things. And also, just to give you kind of an update of what's going on for December, because I'd like you to know what's going on. I know that you get emails from Chuck about this, but next week we will have a special guest speaking, Thomas Earthman, who is a professional in the religious education world in the Unitarian Universalist Association. He's a really phenomenal educator, and that's also my birthday, so I will not be here. You can wish me happy birthday across the sky. And then on the 17th, our very own Kathleen, our accompanist, is going to be our presenter and be doing some sound, musical sort of things that I'm really looking forward to. And I will be here for that. So those are just some upcoming things. Any last announcements? Okay, let's light this chalice. Today, we light this chalice to celebrate hope as we say together, may the light we now kindle inspire us to use our powers to heal with love, to help with compassion, to bless with joy, to serve you, Spirit of freedom, in the fullness of community. And now we want to take a set of brief moments to share joys and concerns. If you are so moved to come up and light a candle and share, and at the end I'll be lighting a candle for all of those joys and concerns that go unspoken.
I have a joy and a concern. The joy is my neighbor friend Ann is here visiting today, and also any other new visitors, we are happy to have you. And my concern is for my children, because their dad, Doug, who many of you know, was evicted from his trailer house last week. And so he's homeless and doesn't want any help or advice from his children. And so he's continuing to make unhealthy decisions. So this is for my family. I've already lit a candle for this, but it's coming up this week. Jim's gonna have his hip replaced on Wednesday, so think about us on Wednesday morning.
Impulsive decision.
This is for Megan, our friend who's in the hospital. Come, Megan.
Can I mention a joy?
Certainly.
Yes.
Hi, this is Amy. My joy is that I was able to spend Thanksgiving with my sister Sue and her husband Steve and her daughter Jenna, and then Ben and Beth came for one night also. So it was a wonderful, wonderful time.
And we'll light this candle for that.
Thank you, Chuck.
Mhm.
My joy is that my mom got me new figure skates that are fitted, and I'm really excited about that. And the bad thing is that my brother won't be able to make it home for Christmas.
The good thing is, he's so wonderful, we'll miss him.
Well, first, I will light a candle of joy for Barbara May's safe return to Minnesota from Texas. And she also wanted me to let everyone know that there was some sort of complication with the address that she gave for the cards So if anybody sent a card for the, in memory of her mother, she's still working on where those cards ended up. So I'm just relaying a message, but she should be joining us in an upcoming service very soon. And then I'm going to light a final candle for all of those joys and concerns that remain unspoken. May we always know that whatever befalls us in life, we are held in the loving embrace of this community. And now we say together for those with unspoken joys and concerns,
We hold you in our hearts.
and without further ado, I now present to you Claudia Smith.
Yay!
We did. Are the words going to be up on the screen for the? Did we get that together for sing-alongs or do you know or I sent words ahead?
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know.
Jim has them.
Well, I wanted to start out with, well, especially this comes perfectly after the joys and concerns. I wrote this song after going to South Africa about 15 years ago, and particularly this 3 or 4 days I got to spend in an isolated village in Africa that was struggling with AIDS and poverty. And the thing that transformed me on that trip was there was always singing going on. There was always singing. You'd get up in the morning and somebody, down the way was singing, some group, and last thing at night somebody was singing, and you'd be at a meal and you'd say pass the salt, and there would be a pass the salt song, that everybody knew, and beautiful harmony. And what it made me realize was how it energizes us, how singing heals us. And they understand that, in spite of everything, they are singing all the time. So I wrote this song, and clearly inspired by that, because it's impossible to sing alone. The lines kind of overlap. And do we actually have words? I don't know if we have. Anyway, I'll tell you how it goes. Yeah. Oh yeah, great. So what happens is in the verse I'm singing da 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 da, and we all sing under a promising sky. Try that. Under a promising sky, and then I sing da 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 da. Under a promising sky. That's the verse part. In the chorus, I'm singing promising sky, and you're gonna sing. I'm singing promising sky. We're walking under promising sky. Is there another line coming up there? Lightning and thunder, promising sky. Next line. Here comes the sunshine, promising sky. It's yours and it's mine. So you're always singing the same notes. It's just the words that change a little bit. So that concludes our rehearsal. Every step we take is on sacred ground here, under a promising sky. Well, that's the other thing I was going to mention. When I sing the end of my line, I'm going to hold it out a little bit, and you start singing over me, and when you finish your line, hold it out a little bit. So it's like we're doing this little vocal handoff. There's a little overlap there. Every step we take is on sacred ground here, under a promising sky. Oh, someone or something lived and died all around here, under a promising sky. Oh, promising sky. We're walking under. Just a moment's taste of joy and of sorrow. Under a promising sky. Oh, it's a promising sky. Promising sky. Promising sky. Promising sky. Ancestors' voices try to call us home. Under a promising sky. Oh, but the cries of the children won't leave us alone. re-energized me on group singing when I came back to the States, you know, because we don't do enough of that. So I was so pleased to be asked that it worked out for this date today, because it's the first Sunday of Advent and the standard church stuff, and I grew up Lutheran, so you know we went through all that stuff, and I went to church, but I mostly went to church just to sing. That was the main thing for me. It was another singing outlet. And so, but the funny thing is, so it's the first Sunday of Advent, which is hope, and a few years ago, I was part of a service for a non-denominational church, and they had offered me a Sunday in Advent. And of all the ones, you know, you have hope, joy, love, and peace are the 4 Sundays. And as usual, I waited too long to get back to her, and I got back to her, and I said, I'd like joy. And she said, I'm sorry, joy's already taken, but hope is still available. And so that was my first sort of opportunity to dig in a little bit and try to figure out what that even is. So here we are again on Hope Sunday. And so the first thing is that I started thinking about, because we use the word a lot, but you know, what is it? What is it actually? Like what do we hope for? And so when we're talking about ourselves and our beloveds, it's things like health and prosperity and love and connection, and I mean that certainly comes up in the joys and concerns of the service, and so that's kind of hope in the closer sense. But I don't know if any of you ever read West with the Night, a memoir by Beryl Markham, a woman who grew up in Africa and became a pilot. And the thing that stuck with me in that book was when she was a young woman, her father told her, work and hope, but never hope more than you work, which has really stuck with me in all the years, because it suggests not a feeling, not some abstract feeling, but an action and an intention, I guess you might say. So that's what we get back to hoping for ourselves, and sometimes I feel like we maybe squander the essence of hope by, you know, hoping for things, or in these current times, in these current kind of vitriolic times, in that Schadenfreude kind of way, hoping for bad outcomes for people we don't like, and that kind of thing. We've got to be really careful with that, because hope is a very precious activity as far as I can tell. So, and here's some of the things that I wrote down when I was thinking about it. Hope is an embrace of what cannot be known, only hoped for. It's an act of courage, and it lifts us out of fear. So, I have a friend who was traveling in Israel. This was several years ago, before the current mess over there. But she was hanging out with some activists, peace activists and educators, who took her to see the school that they had built and were running, called the Peace School. And it was a school that intentionally brought together Palestinian and Israeli children to teach them, to help them to learn, but also to help them learn how to be with each other. And so that was maybe the most precious thing. And so Jan's following her friends over this pile of rubble from one of the recent bombings that had happened, and she's just beside herself in the middle of all this. And so, well, how do you keep hope? How do you keep up hope in the middle of all this chaos? And they just said, without even thinking about it, we don't have the luxury of hope. We just keep going. And what struck me, we talked about that when she said that, was they're so deep in it that they can't even name it at this point. It's gone beyond an abstraction. They're living it every day. So that's the steady hope that heals and transforms. Will somebody get that? That kind of hope lifts up everyone around it. So I've been talking a lot in my travels because I recently encountered this quote from Mr. Rogers. And so Mr. Rogers was saying that when he was a boy and he saw something on TV that frightened him and upset him, his mother would say, "Fred, look for the helping people. There are always people around helping." And he said all his life he's remembered that. And even as an adult, when he's confronted with disaster or tragedy, he would say to himself, "Look for the helpers. There are always helping people." And then he closed it by saying, "So many caring people." It just really it moved me deeply. And I came across a quote from Pete Seeger, who embodied hope with the work he did over his lifetime. And so I just want to share this with you. He said, "If there's a world here in 100 years, it's going to be saved by tens of millions of little things. The powers that be can break up any big thing they want. They can corrupt it or co-opt it from the inside, or they can attack it from the outside. But what are they going to do about 10 million little things? They break up 2 of them, and 3 more like them spring up." So I want to do a song at this point that I wrote because we get to make choices about how we move forward in life, intention, and we're confronted every day, every 24/7 with the news cycle by the horrific things that are going on around the world, and what doesn't make the news are the amazing things, the amazing gifts and acts of generosity and mercy that are going on all over the place in small communities with little things. One of the things I love about traveling is I get to touch in with these communities that are helping each other and therefore the world, and it keeps me buoyant. It keeps me buoyant, and I like to pass it on, you know, that this is happening. You're not going to hear about it on the news, on any news station probably. So I wrote this song about making those choices, about how it's all there all the time, and it just is where we put our focus and our intention. I heard a quote from Deval Patrick, the former governor of Massachusetts, who it was the tail end of a talk, and I don't know what led him to these words, but he closed the talk by saying, "When did we become a nation that shouts our anger and whispers our kindness?" Really? Oh. Just So here are some of the things I was thinking about. I was trying to put myself in the essence of hope. Hope looks around. Hope sees what was and what is. And then hope imagines what could be. It is a creative act. And if memory and imagination are the handmaidens of hope, then hope is the quiet companion to joy, love, and peace. It lights the unknown path that connects these things. I'm not saying that hope isn't a little slippery, because it's neither a location nor an actual destination, being that it is always in relation to a possibility, a transformation. Change! Change is that thing we all need the most in order to grow and evolve, and yet we run like the wind from anything that suggests the possibility of change. Where really we ought to run like the wind from anything that rigidifies us. The thing is, we so often just keep doing the same thing. We keep acting out the same old tired scripts, mouthing empty words just because we know the lines. I saw a really great post last week about trauma. Let's see, it said, we don't go to therapy to learn to handle the trauma. We know trauma. We go to therapy to learn to handle the joy. There's a big difference there. In depression, and despair, and fear, and anger, we're starved of the simple well-being that a state of hope affords us. So in a personal tragedy or any disaster, a life is just ripe for unmooring that leads to despair and hopelessness. This is a very lonely place. It's unbearable. It's unsustainable. I don't know if any of you have ever read any of Pema Chodron's work. She's a Buddhist monk, and she's written some wonderful books. At a particularly painful point in my life, somebody kept saying, you really need to read Pema Chodron's When Things Fall Apart. And you know how it is when you're in pain and suffering, and I just go, oh yeah, okay, I'll get around to it. Yeah, and then, I don't know, 2 or 3 more people said that, and I, with the same response, oh yeah, okay. And finally, one day, a dear, understanding friend put a gift-wrapped copy of the book into my hands. And it was the very thing that helped me start to move. I was completely stuck. So she talks about Tonglen meditation, which is a type of meditation. It doesn't seek to remove you from your pain or detach you. In fact, it's almost the opposite. With that kind of meditation, you go really deep into it. You breathe in the pain, but not only your pain. In the meditation that you learn, when you're breathing in your pain, you begin to bring in all the pain of the world, and you breathe that in, and with your breathing out, you breathe out healing. So the very act of doing that kind of meditation reconnects you. You might be feeling pain, but you're not isolated, you're not alone, which makes a huge difference. And I found that idea, I never studied it, but I found that idea so helpful. So what I like about it is that it denies nothing, it just moves through. It moves through and connects. To me, this is hope in action. This is the essence of hope in action. And maybe the embodiment of hope is just that, action of the spirit. We say we're in love, or in pain, or at peace, which denotes stillness. But what if we were to say that we are at hope, just the way we say we're at work? Thank you, Beryl Markham's dad. So, looking around, taking a step, perhaps even offering assistance like Mr. Rogers' helpers, because hope thrives the best as a shared experience when offered to someone in a moment of need. And my friend Kevin Kling embodies that perfectly in a story he tells about somebody who's always trying to help him because he looks like he needs help even though he's extremely independent. And he's just come around for a while. He took that personally and got angry, but he came into a state of grace with it, and now he just says, no one looks better than when they're helping someone else. And that is why being part of a community of fellow hopers is such a gift and so important, so that we can affirm and witness each other as we hope and imagine our way into the unknown, be it a marriage, a move, a death, a release from some kind of prison, be it actual or of our own making. The Czech poet and playwright and also eventual president of the Czech Republic, Václav Havel, who was put in prison for speaking out against the totalitarian government more than once, actually, and when he was released, he ultimately became president when the Velvet Revolution happened. But even from prison, he said, it is also this hope which gives us the strength to live and continually try new things, even in those conditions that seem as hopeless as ours do here and now. And then he was released from prison and he became president of the Czech Republic. It reminds me of those peacemakers in Israel. He was just always in the middle of it, no matter what was going on. So I'm not saying I don't worry. You know, I worry about memory, or maybe more importantly, the lack thereof in our culture. No need to remember anything, just Google it and then forget it. And forget what it was you Googled 10 minutes later, or even why. So, well, this is exploited mightily, of course, this cultural amnesia by marketers and politicians who are often now the very same thing, or have the same ends anyway, counting on us to not pay attention. But if we don't, our ability to undertake new actions, evolve new systems out of what we've learned from past mistakes, it takes more than a nanosecond to do that. It will be usurped by powers who like the status quo for their short-term selfish gains. Cynical and toxic and dangerous. Sinclair Lewis in 1935 said, when fascism comes to America, it will come with the Bible draped in a flag. 1935. So humanity has always struggled, as history confirms. Some war, some catastrophe, some abyss du jour. It's wherever the culture is, it's always the worst we've ever seen, it seems like. You know, plagues with things. But even in the deepest crises, something in the human spirit prevails. Finding fellow seekers who can share and witness and hold space for each other's grief and distress. Secretly, sometimes, telling stories, singing songs, and affirming each other's beauty and strength, even in those darkest times. Even in those dehumanizing environments of prison and of war. I saw this great documentary about the history of vaudeville. And they interviewed children of so many performers that we grew up with, came up in vaudeville. Bert Lahr, the eventual Cowardly Lion, Judy Garland, jazz singers, and just so many people got their start there as youngsters, pretty much. And so here you'd come with your act, and it was kind of brutal. You know, it was cheap to go there, so the place would be packed, and it was pretty much a little like the Coliseum at times, you know. But the crowd was totally there, totally present, and let you know however they felt. And so the interview in particular with John Lahr I found really moving, because he was talking about how important that outlet was at that time for a lot of immigrants who had no money and no place to go be together in that way. And they couldn't go to plays on Broadway. They couldn't partake of any of that, but they could go see vaudeville. And it was very healing. And so he summed it all up by saying, to him it represented the species' refusal to suffer. Vaudeville. Was a hope passionately is to trust the inevitability of change. Everything must change. Nothing stays the same. Everyone must change. No one stays the same. The young become the old. Mysteries to unfold. That's the way of time. Nothing and no one remains unchanged. The winter turns to spring, and wounded hearts must heal. Never much too soon. Nothing and no one remains unchanged. There are not many things in life you can be sure of, except rain falls from the clouds. Yes, it does. Sunlight fills the sky. Yes, it does. Hummingbirds, sweet little hummingbirds do everything must change. So we can move into it with grace and with gratitude, not intent on outcome or income, but committed to the process itself. Hope seems to flourish without proof of its own existence. With hope, we make connections. We make connections with events and, most importantly, with each other, with a movement from what was to what may be. Here's a great quote from Da Vinci. When you put your hand in a flowing stream, you touch the last that has gone before and the first of what is still to come. So let us strive to nurture a life that invites hope, to keep us unfolded. Because as the poet Rilke wrote, everywhere I am folded, there I am a lie. And Jill Bolte Taylor said, you know her book, Stroke of Insight? She was a neurosurgeon who had a stroke, survived a stroke, and as a result of her work went deeply into researching what had happened to her and really changed the way stroke survivors are treated. It changed everything. But she wrote these words: your body is the life force of 50 trillion geniuses. In other words, your cells. So we choose moment by moment who and how we want to be in the world. I choose to be a hopeful person. I want to share, in closing here, it was a letter written on Christmas Eve in 1513. See what I mean about 'twas ever thus? So by Fra Giovanni Giocondo, who was a Franciscan friar, to his distressed friend, the Countess Alagia Aldo Brandeschi. This is a famous letter. You can look it up. You can Google it if you want to see it again later. I salute you. I am your friend, and my love for you goes deep. There is nothing I can give you which you have not, but there is much, very much, that while I cannot give it, you can take. No heaven can come to us unless our hearts find rest in it today. Take heaven. No peace lies in the future which is not hidden in this present little instant. Take peace. The gloom of the world is but a shadow. Behind it, yet within our reach, is joy. There is radiance and glory in the darkness could we but see. And to see, we have only to look. I beseech you to look. Life is so generous a giver, but we, judging the gifts by their covering, cast them away as ugly or heavy or hard. Remove the covering, and you will find beneath it a living splendor, woven of love by wisdom, with power. Welcome it, grasp it, and you touch the angel's hand that brings it to you. Everything we call a trial, a sorrow, or a duty, believe me, that angel's hand is there. The gift is there, and the wonder of an overshadowing presence. Your joys, too, be not content with them as joys. They, too, conceal divine gifts. Life is so full of meaning and purpose, so full of beauty beneath its covering, that you will find earth but cloaks your heaven. Courage to claim it, that's all. But courage you have, and the knowledge that we are pilgrims together, winding through unknown country home. So, I sent some words ahead. I was visiting a friend who had received a homemade prayer flag that she had in her house. And it was just beautifully these handwritten words. Do we have those words? I think I sent those ahead, so they should be available just to help us.
I only have the 4 lines for the one.
Oh, you didn't get the other one? Oh. Well, I think we can pull it off. Strength, love, happiness, peace. Radiant immunity, hope. Strength, love, happiness, peace. Radiant immunity, hope. So I was so delighted by this that I made a little round out of it that I called the prayer flag round. So maybe we'll just do it as a 2-part round. We're going to sing it together a couple of times. The melody just goes, strength, strength, love, happiness, peace, radiant immunity, hope. Strength, love, happiness, peace, radiant immunity, hope. Once more. Strength, love, happiness, peace. Go down there. Strength, love, happiness, peace. And then you go down a little lower than you think you're supposed to go. Strength, love, happiness, peace, radiant immunity, hope. Once more. Strength, love, happiness, peace, radiant immunity, hope. So the round price goes strength, love, strength, love. So we'll just do it as a little 2-part thing. So once together, and then I'm gonna lead you in here, and we'll see if we can pull this off without our cheat sheet. Together. Strength, love, happiness, peace, radiant immunity, hope. Strength, love, happiness, love, happiness, peace, hope. Strength, love, happiness, love, yeah, happiness, peace, hope, immunity, strength, love, happiness, love, happiness, love, happiness, peace, radiant immunity, happiness, peace, happiness, peace, radiant immunity, hope, radiant immunity, hope. Yeah, good job. There was one more thing I wanted to read to you, and then another song I want to close up with. And this is the rest of when I was pondering ponderosities around the subject of hope. I was sort of picturing this. I was a little visualization. So I think it came out of a talk I was having with somebody about being stuck in things like anger and fear. fear, especially, I mean, we're wired to respond to fear. It's a very fundamental survival tool going way, way back. And but the way we were talking about it, it's like, well, it's kind of like a vehicle, like your car, you know? It gets you to the next place in this moment, but if you get stuck in it, then it's like living in your car. So we don't want to live in our car of fear. So here's what I came up with. If hope is the vehicle, the destination doesn't matter. You are already there. If hope is the destination, the vehicle can be tricky, detours and breakdowns. But when you move with hope and not toward hope, your actions will flow as gently moving water, carrying you to exactly where you need to be. The words you speak will be in balance with your actions. There is no separation, as an action reunites all the aspects of daily life with the rhythm of the greater organism, the heart and breath of humanity, and all the other sentient beings. The song I want to leave you with was written on a weekend retreat in the Berkshire Mountains some years ago, called Singing the Joys and Sorrows of Life. And I was one of 3 people on the staff, Richie Havens and Peter Rowan and myself. And about 60 people showed up, and they could go off with whoever they wanted, and all we did for 2 solid days was sing, weep, eat, laugh, repeat. And it was Singing the Joys and Sorrows of Humanity. That was the name of it. And it was so, I mean, there was no small talk. People just really came with everything. And you'd running into each other on the path, and you'd be in a deep discussion. And one guy, even the facilitator told me later, called up and said, I want to come to that thing about singing the joys of sorrow. I mean, it was just like ready, you know? And so I wrote 2 songs in 2 days. It was just so powerful. Everything was speaking to me. And in those beautiful Berkshire Mountains, once upon a time when women were birds. It was understood that to sing at dawn and to sing at dusk was to heal the world through joy. The birds remember what we have forgotten, that the world was meant to be celebrated. There's darkness in these hills, I'm not afraid. I am not afraid. There is darkness in these hills. I am not afraid. There is darkness in these hills. Though some may tremble, I am still. Hope lives in these quiet hills. Hope lives in these quiet hills. These quiet Thank you. Thanks for letting me share with you today.
Thank you, Claudia, for sharing with us your bountiful gifts.
Yes.
We have heard your message of hope, and we want to take it out into the world, not just in belief, but in action.
That's right. What you doing? Oh, I'm just hoping.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome.